Bandwidth issues and user error problems with polling pads also marring the voting process. Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger just wrapped up a press conference where he addressed early voting and preps for Election Day. Mara Sirianni joining us live now from the Georgia State Capitol with more on what he says they're doing to shorten wait times. Mara.
We are only 3 days into early voting, and already 10% of the state's registered voters have already cast their ballots. That is record-breaking turnout, and he says really that is why we are seeing some issues like long lines at the polls. Some of the systems are just inundated, again, because of those numbers, and I want to break those down for you because he says between absentee ballots and early voting, more than 700,000 Georgians have already cast their ballots. Of the 1.6 million absentee ballots requested, officials say 500,000 of those have already been returned by voters and accepted by the counties. Now, because of overwhelming turnout, many voters are experiencing long lines. Raffensperger says equipment is being added to those precincts that need it. Long lines can also be attributed to bandwidth issues and problems with poll pads. Here's what the Secretary of State had to say about a bottleneck at the check-in earlier this week in Fulton County.
With the poll pads, I know that in Fulton County that was really, it was error, and they really addressed that quickly. That was actually the poll workers there. And in some places it is actually just capacity, the information flowing back and forth. Also, it takes additional capacity when people show up that ask for an absentee ballot, and then all of a sudden you have to contact back to the county to take them off that list because they now want to vote in person.
And if this is any indication of what we can expect on Election Day, officials say they do expect a high voter turnout on November 3rd as well. So if you can, you are encouraged to head to one of those mega sites. You might get in quickly and with a shorter line.
And we're hearing things are going much better over at State Farm Arena. Mara, thank you.